welcome to Show and Tell, the podcast. It's been a while since we've dusted off our microphones, and this is how we talk from now on. And Melissa, how are you going?
I feel like I want to call you Cobber right now when you
Cobber?
talk.
I'm like a newsreader, not a cobber.
You're definitely not like
You're not a newsreader. No, you're not. You're not a newsreader.
Do your best newsreader voice.
I can't.
Hello and welcome to Show and Tell Radio. I am Monty.
And
Beside
I'm
me.
all of a sudden British.
I thought it was pretty good. Anyway, Monty here with you. Stace is here, and our editor of Show and Tell, Mel.
Hello.
We haven't done many podcasts this year, but now we're getting into it. So we're going to do a fortnitly podcast.
Yes.
We've committed to it.
We just had a very slow start to the year.
Didn't we?
It just took a long time, and then all of a sudden it was March, and we're like,
I know.
oh my god, that's stuff to do.
Seriously. So 3 months in, and it's the new year for us, so we're back, which is great. Anyway, so there's a couple of things we do want to talk about today. One of them being we are podcasting in Stacey's grandma's house that Stacey has bought. So when your pa passed a little while ago, and your grandma has been moved into a home, and your uncle who lives with her, who how old's Glennie?
He's about to turn 60 this year. It's Down syndrome.
Yes.
He went into a home also.
Yeah, and so this is like
now.
the family home that basically you grew up in. Is gorgeous.
Oh, I totally grew up in this.
And so you've moved in here, and you know what? This is the first time I've been into this house because I've obviously been here a huge amount. Stace and I have been mates since we were like 15, so I've been in this house a lot of times. How long have you been in here now, though? Because I was away for months. So
January.
Yeah.
We moved in.
So it's still got a bit of nan smell.
Oh, 100%.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Before we moved in, we talked about that, and it was like, because it feels a bit funny, but we were talking about, I wonder when the smell goes, or it doesn't smell like my
It'll
car.
never
like
go.
Like the sheds are like all my car.
Do you think? I think it will eventually go.
I reckon
think
it'll
so.
just combine with your
It's
smell.
the carpet, the front carpet's there still, and that's the smell.
It's
quite
such a
comforting
nan
too, though.
smell. It is a real nan smell. I know.
Yeah.
I think my grandparents' place
Your grandparents
smelled like it too.
it.
But you know, you've got a very distinct smell. Like any time you'll leave an item of clothing or anything, if I smell it, it's so Stace.
Huh, how about that?
And it's a beautiful smell.
It's really nice because I BO a lot. I
You
sweat
do,
a lot.
you do. But it's also so distinctively yours. I think it must be the washing powder you use.
It definitely is, I reckon. Although I switch it quite a bit.
Do you?
No, it's yours.
Not loyal in the dishwashing, in the washing machine
I
department.
swapped it all to, you know,
Natural stuff.
Anyway, so the main thing everyone's talking about at the moment is the Leaving Neverland doco. Wow.
Wow.
Wow, alright.
Old mate over here, Mel, watched it first, and it takes a bit to rattle your core, and it got you.
Do you reckon it takes a bit to rattle Mel's core?
Do you know what? I can watch things and feel sort of a bit upset from them, but then sort of turn it off and go about my day. I could not get this out of my head.
No, I couldn't either.
I have never watched anything so... The detail. It was so detailed. All the things, all the abuse was just so incredibly detailed. I was like, I couldn't stop thinking about it.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know if this is just a weird thing I do or whatever, but then I imagine my kids in that situation, and I'm like, like trying to scrub it out of my brain.
And then you become more paranoid than you already are. Like,
I know.
You begin to be like, you can't trust anyone, but then you're like, oh my god, you got to live. Like, it's that fine line between seeing more stuff. Like, my husband will not watch stuff like that.
No, neither will I.
Because he wants to live in a world where he doesn't have to think about not trusting.
Yeah.
And I live in that space. And the more you see, the more you're like,
Yeah, you do.
oh my
become
god.
paranoid.
But like, that was a little like exceptional in the sense of,
what was Michael Jackson?
it was Michael Jackson, but like, if you think about him not as Michael Jackson and what he was doing, it's completely unacceptable.
Well,
Like, in terms of, as a parent, you'd be like, no way you're not going over there. Because it was him, and like Wade had said, we were all groomed
Yeah.
very early, before anyone ever met him. It's true.
Oh yeah, because the thing is that what I got, and I watched the Oprah interview after, and she's like, there has never been a celebrity like Michael Jackson, and there will never be, because celebrity's not the same anymore.
No,
because of social media, everyone is some form of a celebrity.
Yes.
So even your biggest celebrities, there's like, you didn't have as much access, so they were so amazing. They were just on a whole other level, because you would only see them if you went to their concert or watching like MTV video hits, you know, that kind of stuff. And so the power that we did feel for celebrity is very different than it is now as well.
Yeah.
So everyone's like, how are these mothers letting the kids go and sleep at their houses? And I said to Mum, because I'm the same age as Wade, one of them.
Yeah.
I think they're both similar ages.
Yeah.
So I was born in 81, similar to them. And I said, it was a very different time.
Yes.
You didn't really think about pedophiles. Here's a side note. Are we allowed to say pedophiles, or do you have to say sexual abusers?
Pedophile. I thought pedophile was the
pedophile
word
if
for
it's a
someone
child.
who, yeah.
So did I. But the other day, somebody's like, you don't really call them that anymore.
No.
I was like, "Oh,
Absolutely you do.
yeah, I thought you
You
did.
call them what
I was about to say, I don't think it matters what you call them.
Yeah. But he, yeah, and I said to Mum, would have you ever let me sleep in someone's bed? And she's like, are you kidding me? Like, absolutely not.
I know,
And
but
I'm
MJ
like, yeah,
was
okay.
like, he was just very clever at it.
It just
Like, he bought the
seduced
houses,
everyone.
the parents. Like, Wade's mum left the dad in Queensland.
To go over
And
there
he
and
bought them
yeah.
a house and like asked him if he could. She did say no to that when he asked if he could live with him for a year.
Yeah,
She was like,
imagine.
yeah, no.
Yeah.
No, but even that first time that Wade stayed with him, I think it was one of them, anyway, I think it was Wade, that the family had gone to America and then planned on going elsewhere,
another
looking
trip.
around.
Yeah.
And Michael Jackson was like, oh, let him stay. The kid wanted to stay. So they left him. And he said, we'd known him for about 4 days or 4 hours or something like that. I was like,
I know, and I just do think though that you've got to go. This is a Brisbane family. Okay, so from our worlds, our suburban worlds, we've gone
So
over
1980.
in the 80s.
Yeah.
I don't reckon the time makes any difference.
I do. I absolutely do. I don't think we didn't know as much as we do. Or we didn't, yeah, it's like...
Maybe it wasn't talked about as much, but I'm older than you, and there is...
My dad was pretty clear with me about that stuff.
I wasn't allowed to do
Really
sleepovers or
Mhm.
anything like that.
Yeah.
That's just amongst families and friends and
Mm,
whatever
yeah,
that
right.
we knew.
True.
So I think we knew. Maybe people didn't talk about it as much. It wasn't as open, but
Right.
I still blame. I don't want to use the word blame, but I cannot understand that not even one alarm bell went off when that mum was talking about. Oh, first it was the next room, then it was a few rooms down when they were staying in a
Didn't the other
hotel.
guy's mum like have an ear go up against the door at one point? It's
Yeah,
like,
just wanting to know what they were talking
if you are
about.
thinking that.
I don't
Right.
think she was thinking, are they doing anything naughty in there? I think she was thinking, I wonder what these guys talk about. Also, Yumi, who I do the 3 p.m. pickup with, had a really good kind of explanation. Because the first time that the kids asked to sleep in there, one of them, Jimmy, I think it was, the mum said, so the first holiday they went on with him, they had a separate room and he wanted to sleep in there with him and she said no. And so then, you know, when your kids are kind of like the second time and they keep going, like, please, can I sleep in there? It kind
waters
of
down.
becomes more, okay. You know what I mean? I guess the
True.
more times it's in front of
Like,
you and asked,
can I
it
have
becomes...
chocolate for breakfast? No. 25 times later, oh,
Just
fucking
have it.
chocolate.
Yeah, it might have been a little bit like
Yeah.
that. Or I know it's very hard
so-
to get your head around.
I think we can only think of what we would do in a
Yes.
situation now that
Yes.
we are parents. And
Yeah.
I think, obviously my husband's no Michael Jackson, but for example, if one of you wanted to go out, you know me, met my husband a couple of times. If I said, oh, you know, Monty, bring back Sienna or whatever, but Mark really loves sleeping with kids. He just loves boys. So I'm going to sleep on the couch downstairs and the boys will sleep in the bed with Mum. You would be...
It's
You? All right. Yeah, no, it's okay. Mum just rang. She can watch them.
Yeah, there's
Like,
nothing
when you
not
put
on
it in
about it.
context
Right.
of like that's not MJ.
I know it's...
The actual
I know.
premise of it is bananas.
Oh,
I know.
it's bananas, and it is completely bananas that he's a celebrity and still done it. But at the same time, celebrity is a fucking weird thing.
Yeah, it is. But
Yeah.
tell me, can you ever listen to his, like, generally? Is anyone ever going to feel comfortable listening to his music again?
Well, and here's the other conversation:
And it's
can
not
you
exactly
separate the art from the artist?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? It's like his songs are fucking brilliant.
I think you can if it's not a pedophile.
Yeah, and here's the thing:
Like,
they're
pedophiles,
tainted
like,
though.
trumps everything.
Yeah.
Other stuff, like, whatever, if you rob someone, or, you know, whatever.
Or you're a...
You're just a
Whatever,
dick.
yeah.
Yeah. Like, well, they'll never be played at the radio station I work for are not playing it. Like, all radio stations aren't now
He's
because.
actually quite lucky he's not alive for this.
Well, and here's what I was saying
Got
today.
away, really.
We went on a walk earlier today, and I said, just imagine he isn't guilty though. Like, it's very hard to fathom it, but who knows?
And there are people that just will not let his guilt even filter into their mind.
But
He's
Latoya said it in
totally...
the 80s, and she got banned from the family,
Latoya
I
has also
know,
said
but you
a
don't
lot
come
of
out
shit.
and say, I think you might be a pedophile. In the
Yeah, I know.
80s. And
Yeah,
then
I
the
know.
family's like, you're out.
Yeah.
Like, something's triggering. You don't just come up with someone's a pedophile.
You know what the thing is? Even thinking of all the parents that came after that had their kids involved with Michael Jackson, that Geordie Chandler, then there was the one in 2005, Gavin Arvizo, I think his name was. Even with that in the back of your mind that he'd stood trial on those charges before, there was always a question around it. How could you then feel comfortable?
Yeah, totally.
It would always be in your head.
In your mind. Yeah.
I don't know.
People get caught up in it, I guess.
No, I have not one shred of relatability to it. And you brought up a really good point. Everyone's talking about the mothers.
Yeah, well,
this is the parents.
Well, one of the dads
The
passed away. Wade's father passed away, and he had severe mental issues. He was bipolar, and
But it was
very
after that,
severely.
right? He was alive when they went there.
Yes, but she left him, so he didn't have any. Stace hasn't watched it, so he wasn't living with them. And then, but no one talks about the other dad.
No.
It's like, what about the dad saying, actually, no? You know, we were saying how you think there's so much that goes through your mind about it, and I was putting Bax into bed the other night, giving him a cuddle, my 7-year-old, and I couldn't help but think, imagine somebody making you put your penis in their mouth.
Yeah, I know.
And that's what I was thinking, laying there with him. Like, it makes you think of all things like that. You're like, just the innocence and...
Yeah, like, they're so young, their brains are literally being moulded every single experience they have at this age.
Well,
it
these
takes
boys...
nothing for them to make that feel normal.
No, and they legitimately loved Michael.
Yeah.
They loved him.
He was lovely to them.
Well,
really, he was.
He was. And Oprah said this too, which is so true. Like, you hear of sexual abuse, and in my mind, I automatically think of someone being held down, something violent happening.
Yes.
But if you touch a little kid, it feels good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They don't have the reasoning to understand it's wrong. Yeah.
The guilt that felt really pleasurable.
But I liked it too, so I can't tell mum because then I'm complicit. It's like, God, these poor children.
Oh my God, I know, they're just so messed up. And then there was also, here's something else I just want to add before we move on from this. I got into a deep internet vortex of just Googling old pictures and old interviews and stuff, and there was one with Debbie Rowe, so the mum of Prince and Paris. And so they got married when they got married in Sydney actually, and then but they didn't love each other. They said they didn't love each other.
Baby maker.
Yeah, and for religious reasons, he wanted to be married, so the baby wasn't born out of wedlock. This is apparently what happened. And then when Prince was born, she didn't see him for 6 weeks. She went off to a friend's house to rest, and Michael took him back to Neverland. And then when Paris was born, he said, like, quote of Michael Jackson, he literally snatched her out of the doctor's hand with blood, the umbilical cord, everything, and took her home from the hospital. And the kids don't call her mum. She said, I don't want them to call me mum. They've never called me mum. This basically gifted Michael these kids. Imagine. How messed up are they? Like, how awful for them now going, oh my God, that woman who's my mum doesn't want me to call her mum. My dad could be a pedophile. If he's not a pedophile, he's a fucking nut job.
Yeah,
like, the biggest nut job ever.
Also, too, like, this is not me putting an excuse on this at all, but he was abused as a kid.
Yeah.
Like, his version of reality was warped before he could. I mean, and a lot of people come out of that and they're quite normal, you know, like, become functional and know that that's not normal, like Wade and, you know. But he was brought up like that. Yeah. He was abused and he just repeated the cycle.
Yeah, totally.
I know.
It's very, very common. It is very common though.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
You know,
it's like, you know, when your dad's an alcoholic, you marry an alcoholic. Like, it's just...
Yeah.
You know,
it does not... I've got to be careful with that though, because obviously not everyone who's abused becomes an abuser. But there is a strong correlation there with abusers have usually been abused when they were younger.
And he never had boundaries. And also, mate...
Yes, no rules.
I had, in that interview, I've only had 2 nose jobs. Like, he was almost a compulsive liar. And if you know there's that questioning around you, just... Even if he was totally guilt-free, and let's just assume he never did anything, stop sleeping with kids in your bed.
Just stop.
Just take the controversy away from yourself.
Yeah, it's very odd. Hey, so Pal yesterday was sentenced. 6 years, and what is it, 3 years before... before he can try and get out, which of course he'll be out by then. Because I was thinking, when I heard 6 years, I was like, what is that? They get.
Yeah, I know.
They took into account that he was how old? 77.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And good character.
You should rot in jail for the rest. Like, how does he get to come out again?
Well, the judge even said, I'm taking into consideration your age, so you can live the last couple of years out in the community, as a part of the community. It's like, who the fuck wants this guy as a part of our community?
No.
But he is on the registered sex list as
Sex
well.
offender list, yeah.
Like, but that's not accessible to the public.
Yes, it is.
Not everywhere.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's not everywhere.
I'm sure you can look up
You should be
who
able
the sex
to. Not
offenders
where
in
they
your
live.
area are.
Like in America, when we lived there, when we moved places, you would look it up and it literally tells you the house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's hardcore.
I wonder
Like,
if it
that's
tells
important
you.
when you're buying a house if you've got young kids.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
there's a school
That
near
should be totally pinned on a map.
Yeah, I agree.
a school like in the next suburb to my house. There's been a guy hanging around there who's trying to lure them in. He's been doing it with like 14, 15-year-old boys as well.
That is hardcore.
It's very strange. It's so scary. And so I've got a 7 and a 4-year-old. So you do have to start talking to them about it. But I don't want to scare them. But the other day in the car, I said to Bax, if anyone says, come with me, I'm going to take you to your mum. What do you say? And he said, I say no. And then I made some joke about his dicky because that's all that ever comes out of his mouth. I'm like, spot on, mate. Yeah.
You sort of think, I think we think that they're these sort of creeps that are hanging around schools and lurking
it's
around,
not
but
so
it's
much,
sports coaches, it's priests, it's people who I think will often, I'm no expert, but put themselves in a position where they're surrounded by kids all the time.
Yeah.
Teachers, whatever. Obviously, it's not to say it's such a small amount, but still, it's really unnerving. Just you never know.
And also, you think you know your kid in the sense of, like, I think to myself, I've talked enough about this with Raph that if I were to ask him, like, has anything ever happened, he would be like, he would definitely tell me, but he's been manipulated.
No,
I know.
and like,
know?
and how Oprah said to Gail would always go, no, my kids would tell me.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, they wouldn't, because they're master manipulators.
And if you're saying to a little kid too, you tell anyone, I'm going to go and kill your parents, any of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, or you and I will both have to go to jail. Like, jail as a kid's so scary.
But like George Powell, there is no way it was 2.
Oh, no way.
No chance in hell.
No way.
That guy did it to 2, only 2
No
kids.
way.
No.
And obviously that's all they can prove.
No way.
But seriously, is 6 years all you're going to get? 3 years a kid.
Yeah.
Like, why would anyone come forward? What's
That's
the point?
exactly what I was saying to Sam, my partner. I'm like, why? This is why rape
It's not
victims
worth it.
do not come forward, because getting pushed through everything that they
Again.
do, reliving it all, getting questioned if they're telling the truth.
And people knowing that about you.
Yeah,
It's all they see when they see you.
Well, that's what I said, and that's also why I think with these 2 guys that have come out with Michael Jackson, it's like I said, forever when we see them, we'll be like, they were molested by Michael Jackson.
Yep.
Oh, and Wade's a really great dancer. Like, it will be the first thing that you
It
always
will.
think
That's
of.
why the courage part of them doing that, like, you couldn't do that for shits and giggles.
No.
Because your whole
Not
life...
even for money. Not even for money.
And
Not
they
even
didn't
for
even
money.
get
I
paid
don't
for that film. They didn't make any money. Like, there's got to be...
And when you watch it and you hear them talk about things that they did, and they actually both talk about it like it was a relationship.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
one of them got married.
And it was 10.
And there's very graphic parts of it, which I'm going to go into right now. So if it does, if you haven't watched it and this is just too much for you, then I suggest that, should we just, maybe we'll put another channel in where we do like fart sound effects and you can just listen to them for a minute and then come back. But the bit that Mel that really got you, and this, guys, is very hard to say, and I'm going to get bad news laugh.
I know. I'm feeling it too.
Are you going to laugh?
I get bad news laugh all the time. Do you know my mum will say to me, my mum has it too, she'll say to me, guess who died? And we both start laughing. Before we even know. It's just, I think it's like
I do it any time anyone's dog died.
It's like a protective response. I don't know what it is.
It's because
It's
you don't
very
really want to...
strange, isn't it? It's so weird.
It's not funny at all.
It's not funny.
Maybe
So,
we shouldn't talk
I'm not
about
gonna
it.
talk
We shouldn't
about
be
it.
doing bad news laugh about this.
No, because this is like...
Yeah,
not
but
a
it's
dog
bad
brain.
news laugh happens. We don't censor ourselves, okay?
Okay. Right,
So-
you say that.
Okay.
It's on you.
So the part where he would get the boys to, because he would always start with them doing him, wouldn't he? Wouldn't they?
Well, it all started almost without really, like maybe a bit of touching over the pants or whatever, but he would get them on all fours, open up their bum, and he would masturbate looking at it. It's stuff like that. Like it's
like they're not making that shit up, guys.
not
even this sicko over here would make that stuff up.
But that's the thing. Even the way they still talk like they loved him.
Yeah, well,
they
because
do
that
love
guy
him.
said, like on the Oprah thing, he's like, even just last night, I felt guilty for him.
Yes.
I felt guilty to coming here and talking to him because I felt like I was betraying him.
Yeah.
Like, he was very clever at what he did to them.
And they knew too many details where things were. He would be like, and we had sex. And when he said sex, that I think Michael Jackson tried penetration with both of them.
And remember, he said
but it was too painful.
Right.
Yeah.
That they stopped. But it was all oral stuff, I think. A lot of
stuff
was oral. He was like, we did it in here, we did it in this little room above the theatre, we did it here, we did it here, we did it here. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It sounds like honeymooners. The way he was talking.
Yeah. And also, what got me to is the tongue kissing.
Oh.
Like, look at your child.
I know.
It's a child.
And that little... It sounds awful, but that
this
little
is the thing too, right? This is what I always go back to try to understand. You can't understand it, but to try to understand it too is that a pedophile's, like, your sexual preference is a man similar to your age.
Yeah.
Right? A pedophile's sexual preference, like, what they're attracted to is a child. Like, we're attracted to men.
That's right, I know.
Like, that's their main attraction.
Yeah.
Like, they're not faking it. Like, that's genuinely what they're attracted to.
Yeah.
It's sick.
So it would be saying to us, we know you're attracted to men, but that's completely illegal.
Yes.
And so having these feelings, just living it's very, if you think about it like that, it's like, whoa.
Yeah, I know. And he did say, what I think, no one knows what's going on in Michael Jackson's head, but I think when he used to say, I love children, I would never hurt a child, he didn't think he was hurting those kids.
No, that's the sick thing.
He thought he was pleasuring them.
Yeah.
And loving them.
Yeah. He genuinely did.
It's so...
And how was the secret when they'd hold hands and they'd tickle each, like they'd do something like tickle of the hand, which meant I'm thinking of you sexually?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Every parent should watch it.
Well, absolutely.
Every parent should see it. Just because even though we all feel like we have conversations with our kids about it, they know, there's still all these tiny little sneaky ways that you watch and go, oh my God.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought that.
I wouldn't have
You
thought
think you're across it, but how do you know you're not a predator? You don't know.
I know.
And now just jumping back to Pal, when the 6 years, they said 6 years, I'm like, 6 years? Is that all? And so I Googled like what other... I googled Rolf Harris. He was sentenced to 5 years and got out in 3.
Well, the maximum sentence for what Pal was convicted of, so it wasn't even, he was actually convicted, was 10 years. That was the maximum. And I think to myself...
They've murdered a portion of those children's lives.
Oh, and their families.
100%.
Yeah.
And I think back to... It's no deterrent for people who want to do bad things.
That's the thing.
You look at the guy that killed Jill Marr.
But
how many women he raped?
Yeah.
Bail. Then he was in prison for I think 5 or 6 years, got out. He raped like 8 sex workers in St Kilda. Even the guy who killed Daniel Morgan, he raped a 6-year-old boy at a kindergarten. You know what I mean? These people should not be allowed. I don't even believe in rehabilitation.
Because they can't change their sexual preference. They can't.
No.
They really can't.
They can't what?
They can't change their sexual preference.
No, but you would have to gauge and go, okay, this is my sexual preference, which is clearly not right. What do I, like, you'd hope that you'd go, what would I do about this? Like, I would go,
it's very
oh my God, take me to the fucking church and...
don't go to the church.
No, I know, but you know how there's those churches that's like, you're gay, but we'll get the gay out of you? If I was a pedophile, I would be like, get the pedophile out of me. You cut it off. Well, some of them who have gone into rehabilitation have done that because they can't trust themselves.
Yeah. Well, do you remember a few years ago there was this whole issue brought up about, you know how you can get a sex doll, right? There was this whole issue brought up about child sex dolls for pedophiles, right? Which sounds revolting. And
better than doing
sort
the real
of think
thing.
better than that, but then you think, well, then does that just want them to want the actual real engagement with the kid? It's hard to even talk about because we don't know what that's like.
No.
But it's...
Wow. Geez, this is hands down the heaviest podcast we've ever done.
Totally. Let's move to something else.
I don't think we'll do another heavy one again.
No.
There's another... filthy swine out there. Like, the two, it just feels like pedophiles are everywhere. So we did want to cover it, and we would love for you to subscribe to our podcast, which is Show and Tell Podcast.
Yep.
Can you comment on our iTunes?
Please.
Review us.
Geez, that sounds so desperate, doesn't it? But then it bumps us up, more people find us. And also you can head to showandtellonline.com.au, lots of stuff there. We have the most incredible picture of a woman with eyebrows that you have never seen before. So much so that she's been receiving death threats about these eyebrows. They're like, as soon as you see them, you're like, whoa! But then to receive death threats, it's insane.
I know, that's
like,
crazy.
She can do whatever the bloody hell she wants.
Seriously. Except...
A monobrow.
Hey? Except a monobrow.
No, this is not even a monobrow. This is...
It's like a face brow. Hey, have a great day. Thanks for listening.
Fire.
Bye.